who really is Ralsei and what is he hiding? It's a topic that I brought up in my last video, and now it's time to fully talk about it because there is even more to discuss about our little fanboy darkner guy. As a brief introduction, Ralsei is this cute fluffy boy who only knows kindness and teaches Susie and Chris or any other lightners about the dark world and guides them towards a pacifist path. At first he seems just a nice and friendly guy, but at a closer glance you can realize that he hides more things than that mystery box from FNAF. Ralsei seems to like Chris very much and he's polite with him, even more than with the others. He never questions Chris's actions, regardless if you choose violence or peace. He tells Susie to stop attacking the enemies and to be kind to them instead, but never to Chris. He advised them to do that, but he never reacts like he does with Susie. You might say that Ralsei teaching Chris about how the battle system works and how being a pacifist is the better option is just a gameplay mechanic, just a usual tutorial, and he actually refers to the player and not Chris. Normally I would say, obviously, even your grandma knows about this kind of stuff in video games. But here we are talking about Toby Fox, a person who constantly breaks the fourth wall and canonizes every single aspect of a game. Even saving and reloading is canon in this universe. Meaning that Ralsei wanting a pacifist route and teaching you game mechanics goes much deeper than you might think. In order to understand Ralsei better, we need to question every little thing he does, and the very first question will be something that my friend Davy Jones would ask.
You are neither dead nor dying. What is your purpose here?
Well, based on what we have so far and what we know from Undertale, I have a small theory. As everyone knows, Azrael and Ralsei are more or less the same guy, and when I say Azrael, I'm referring to the Undertale one, not the one from Deltarune, because we haven't seen that guy so far. Upon entering the Dark World, Ralsei is the first darkner you interact with. Lancer just follows you there as a shadow figure, he doesn't count. He tells you about a prophecy and then he teaches you how to fight. Flowey, which is Azrael in another form, also is the first NPC you interact and teaches you how to fight. And both of them says, "See that heart? That's your soul, the culmination of your being." Well, for now that's where the connection ends. From there, Flowey tries to kill you and tells you that in this world is kill or be killed. Flowey is more involved in the story if you do a genocide route, so he tries to push you onto that path. Ralsei is the opposite, he tries to make you get a full pacifist route. And well, Flowey kinda wanted to do the exact same thing at the end of the game, but for a different reason. Or is it? In Deltarune there is this mechanic where you need to recruit enemies by defeating them with acting, and once you recruit them they will be present at Castletown to be your subjects. The game and Toby tells you that your choice don't matter a tiny bit here, so why Ralsei keeps pushing for this action despite being meaningless? Because he knows they are not. Ralsei doesn't talk about his past or origins. He just says he is alone in the Castletown and he has no subjects. Besides the fact that it is weird that literally no one is here except him, Ralsei having no subjects is a problem that can be resolved by someone else. By you. Or Chris, same thing. By recruiting darkners, the Castletown becomes more and more filled with them, and because Ralsei is the prince of this town, all the darkners here are now his subjects. He even has a mini joke related to that. So knowing this, there are mainly three possible scenarios that can happen. 1. Ralsei somehow was abandoned. His people died or something like that happened. Maybe a tragedy erased most of them, someone kidnapped everyone, or they were separate, scattered in all these different dark worlds. Some darkners know each other and have memories from before their fountains were created, so it could be a possibility. And now Ralsei wants to repopulate this place or bring everyone back home so he can be the ruler he never was. 2. A war might come up at the end. So far the Darkner seems to be nice, with only a few exceptions, but what if there will be a dark world that will bring only evil Darkners that want revenge? Kinda like Chara. Or it could be even a battle between the Darkners and Lightners, or maybe even a battle against the Titans that Ralsei talked about in his prophecy. Or maybe a battle against someone who doesn't play by the rules. Someone who is teased to come up, someone like Gaster. And you and your army will have to stop this oncoming threat. Having as many darkners as you can get will definitely be helpful. This theory might be the most likely. The game hints for a battle like this with the Titans at least. War 3, which is my favorite one, that again mirrors Flowey aka Azrael. In Undertale, if you are a pacifist up until the end, Flowey tells you that you can get a better ending. And once you reach the end, all your friends gather in one place to save the day. But this was exactly as Flowey planned. In that moment, Flowey absorbs everyone in the underground and becomes Azrael Dreamer, the god of hyperdeath, the most powerful creature that exists in that universe, with one exception. The only way to stop him is to reach his heart. Physically, he is invincible, nobody can beat him. Now, back to Deltarune, I think you know where I'm going with this. A goat guy that advised the player to gather everyone in one place where he can become a god and control the world. It all connects, kinda. Ralsei's purpose could be to teach you how to be nice so he can trick you to bring all the darkners to one place, something that he wouldn't be able to do by himself. But why would he want to become a god? Well, maybe for his own sake, but if we look again at Azrael, he was misunderstood and in the end he did good with his power. He freed everyone from the underground. Ralsei could want to become a god to do the same thing in Deltarune, to free all the darkners or to bring the ones that were missing from the castle town back. Or Ralsei could want to become a god, to be at the same level or to be more close in power to the one exception that I mentioned earlier. A guy who has power over everything. Yet again, Gaster. It is close to impossible that Gaster will not be the final enemy of the game. He at the very least will play a major role at the end. He is constantly present in the menu with his cryptic dialogue and he has a deep connection with the secret bosses. So Ralsei would want to get godly power to have a chance against him, or to free everyone from his control and influence. There is also a popular theory about chess, but there are only 6 different chess pieces. So the 7th one are the players, one of them being you, the player, and the other one Gaster. And even more interesting, just like you control Chris, the other player Gaster could control another character, maybe Ralsei. You with the lightners or white pieces and Gaster with the darkners or the black pieces. But I will make a big theory about that after the next 2 chapters. For now, let's just get back to Ralsei. Even after everything I said, I don't think Ralsei is evil. Flowey was pretending to be good, but you could tell right away who exactly was he. Well, not really, he was still a good goat deep down at the end. He's not pure evil, but his methods to do good might be manipulating and morally bad. Something that the others wouldn't agree with if they would know the full story. All these 3 options I presented benefit Ralsei one way or another if a dark fountain opens. You could say that it is in his interest that a new dark fountain appears. After all, this is from where he can get new subjects, and it's also very convenient that his dark world is the only one that is allowed to exist in this universe. Everyone is turned to stone if they step into another dark world except his. This might be his doing, or yet again he hides something, but sadly I don't have any proof for that right now. So let's get to the next point. Like I said at the beginning, Ralsei seems to like Chris, but what if he's not referring to Chris, but to us, the player? When Chris stays near him, he starts to blush, but that happens only when your heart touches him. He doesn't say anything to you if you choose violence. He knows that only the player can make choices in this game, so he encourages your leadership and others to follow you, and he knows that only you can close the fountains. This heart, not Chris, not anyone else. And it seems that Ralsei has a much deeper understanding about the player. He knows your name, somehow. The castle town is named after the creator, after all. The one you choose at the beginning with the narrator, something that only you and Gaster would know. So this could be another hint for a connection between them. Maybe they're allies, or maybe Gaster is his puppet master, just like in the situation with Spamton. This is interesting because after Spamton tells Chris his story and how he's controlled, Chris relates to that because he is also not in control, someone else controls him. And Ralsei doesn't want Chris to think too much about this, he wants them to forget. Maybe because this is how he will find out about Gaster, and in this way Chris will also find out Ralsei ties to him. how he is also controlled by him. Maybe. There are also these two moments in each chapter when Ralsei tells Chris to imagine something that happens with Susie. And then the player is taken to another place, and after you return it seems that Ralsei had a secret conversation with Chris. It is definitely something important. Again, Toby Fox doesn't use gameplay gags or stuff like that. Everything is canon here. What could be so important that he doesn't want to say in our presence? I mean, if you don't follow Susie in chapter 2 after a snow grave route, Ralsei doesn't say anything. He just stands there and waits for Susie. He no longer has that conversation with Chris. If it's in Ralsei's interest that a dark fountain opens, at the end of chapter 2, Chris opening a dark fountain could be a result of Ralsei instructing Chris to open one, to have more fun and for him to get his subjects. But you could say that conversation in chapter 2 can be skipped regardless, and Chris might have did that on his own. He is kinda weird, so it's very possible. Okay, but still, Ralsei could be hand in hand with the real knight. They could be partners and Chris is just something unplanned. Like, let's be honest, this guy really knows what's up. Why the other darkners don't know about the turning into stone if you step into another world thing, or the prophecy, or even the roaring? It seems important. Why he doesn't say anything about his past or explain more about this stuff, and why he doesn't want us to think too much about this, and especially spam them. This could also be the reason why Chris is healed the least from Ralsei T, despite everyone else in the party being healed the same value. Chris doesn't really like or trust Ralsei. Now, a very good question about all this messed up theory: if you instead choose violence, how would this change Ralsei's plan? It seems to be only working if you recruit everyone. To which I respond, I don't know, it's just a theory that popped up into my head at 3 AM in the morning, for God's sake. Okay, no, really, even if you choose the worst path, the snow grave route, you will still get some subjects, like Queen and Trashy. Yo-ho. Okay, there are also these guys and almost everyone from chapter 1, because recruiting didn't exist back then. The plan can still work, but in a different way. In Undertale, if you take a normal route, Flowey will just absorb the 6 human souls instead of literally everyone from the underground, and he still got crazy powerful despite that. So Ralsei will still have a backup plan. This could still work, just not as good. But this discussion is already too far into the future to predict literally anything about it. The most likely thing that we will have an immediate answer in the next chapter is how Toriel would react when she will see a guy who looks like her son. I mean, Susie and Noel briefly mentioned that. This could also explain how a darkner like Ralsei would know how the real world school is labeled, and how he can get from one dark world to another, and hell, how he knows how Chris's room looks like. He can be Asriel, the Deltarune one. But then why Chris doesn't say anything about that? He either doesn't want to think about it, or there is a secret reason behind that stoic face and that red murdery eyes. I personally don't really think that Asriel is Ralsei. It will be too obvious and boring, and Toby doesn't really do things that way, but it could be something that is related to him. Like he could be those horns that Chris lost when he was a kid. I mean, darkners are normal objects from the real world. But overall, we still have no idea what his intentions might be. At this point it can be anything, there is no 100% proof for anything, but at least what I listed seems like a good possibility. Even though having a similar ending to Undertale would be boring, in the game there is even a joke reference to that, with a creature with rainbow wings drew by Asriel. You could also say that will be boring to give bigger roles to characters that we've already seen, so I don't think it's something to overlook completely. Anyway, that's kinda all I have to say about this. Hope you enjoyed this poorly structured theory, if you can even call it that. The last part, it seems more like a string of nonsense attached to a bunch of random questions without an answer. But this is the first time I've tried to craft a theory, and Deltarune is a hard place to start that. Oh, and it's also 4 AM in the morning, so obviously nothing will make sense at this hour. Leave a comment about what do you think about this theory, or what theory you have about Ralsei origins and secret motives before the new chapters, or if you have a better understanding about the story and you think you can untangle this mess that I've made with more evidence. Like the video if you at least find it entertaining, and subscribe for more content, because I will pump Deltarune content like crazy in the next month. Okay guys, see you next time. Meanwhile, I will go to drink from the royal water bottle while King sleeps.